ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වරට SLT 4G වෙතින් දැන් Pure TV නරඹන්න. ඉදිරියටම ගෙන යන SLT 4G.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, arresting a pandemic. A slew of measures taken to tackle COVID-19 as 3 more test positive for the virus. The government also dissuades people from panic buying.
There is absolutely no shortage of food items in Sri Lanka.
We have enough and more quantities to supply fuel consumers for more than 20 days.
All importers have 2 to 3 months of inventory and the pharmacies have adequate stock.
Market woes. Colombo Stock Exchange halts trading for the 3rd consecutive day.
I think this is really out of the question. We have performed in line with what global markets have done.
New terminal. Contract inked to build the 2nd passenger terminal at the Derana International Airport.
We will get a brand new state-of-the-art passenger terminal which could add 9 million more passengers handling capacity to increase BIA's total capacity to 15 million per annum.
All that and much more coming up on First at 9, this Friday the 13th of March 2020.
හැටනමයයි අනුහත්තට SMS කර රුපියල් මිලියන 3ක මුල්තැන්ගේ උපකරණ දිනාගෙන අවුරුද්දෙම කුස්සිය ටයිම් සේව් කරගන්න.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening, welcome to First at 9, I'm Dhammika Ganayaka. In the latest on the deadly coronavirus saga, 5 people are now confirmed with COVID-19 in Sri Lanka as 3 were detected today with the virus. According to Director of Health Services Dr. Anil Jasinghe, 64 people are currently under treatment at 17 designated hospitals over suspicion of the virus. With the number of positive cases in Sri Lanka continuing to climb, the government ramped up combating efforts by implementing a number of measures to keep an outbreak at bay.
Director General of Health Services Dr. Anil Jasinghe today confirmed the detection of 3 more persons infected with the coronavirus COVID-19. One patient is identified as a 41-year-old man who had travelled to Germany and is currently being treated at the Infectious Diseases Hospital. The remaining duo are among the group of people taken under quarantine at the Kandakadu facility after flying in from Italy. They too are currently receiving treatment at the IDH. A total of 64 people suspected of contracting COVID-19 are currently receiving treatment in 17 hospitals across the country. Meanwhile, 5 persons who came into contact with the tour guide, the first local to be infected, are admitted to hospital on suspicion of contracting the virus. In addition to that, 8 family members of the second local who tested positive for COVID-19 are admitted to the IDH as they showed symptoms of the virus. It is reported that even his residence is now being quarantined. Convening a media briefing today, Director General of Health Services Dr. Anil Jasinghe elaborated on the current situation of the country while repelling several rumours regarding the spread of COVID-19.
They are equipped as much as possible. I don't say that we don't have resource limitations. We are improving the surge capacity. WHO is going to purchase some equipment and other medical requirements in an emergency manner for about $100,000 worth equipment.
There has been a concern raised about the private medical hospitals that are carrying out testing. And that they are charging exorbitant amount of monies to do so, which makes that it is not available for the average person. Is the ministry going to introduce price control for private sector testing?
As of now, the private sector is not allowed to do this test. The government is considering whether to allow the private sector to do this test. Here, it's not only the price factor, there are other factors. It is a public health exercise. So, the private hospitals generally in Sri Lanka are not much geared into public health exercises. But when it comes to government, we have public health arm and the curative arm. Therefore, we have to be in the government sector, do these tests based on stringent criteria. Therefore, we may have to, if we are going to allow them to test, have certain criteria, and we may have to ask them to report details of patients whom they have done. That is useful for us to even follow up these patients.
Meanwhile, the Sri Lankan living in Italy who tested positive for the novel coronavirus has recovered and been discharged. The Foreign Employment Bureau has also decided to not grant permission for Sri Lankans to fly overseas for employment purposes until further notice. In another measure intended to keep a possible outbreak of coronavirus away from Sri Lanka's shores, the government has decided to ban tourists from 11 countries. According to the Civil Aviation Authority, the ban will come into force from tomorrow night for the likes of Italy, Iran and South Korea. In addition, entry will also be banned for nationals of France, Spain, Germany, Switzerland, Denmark, Netherlands and Sweden as well as Austria starting from the 15th. In this backdrop, Sri Lanka Institute of National Tourist Guide lecturers urge that all tourists be temporarily banned from entering the country. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Higher Education has decided to shut down all the universities for a period of 2 weeks starting from tomorrow. Ministry of Women and Child Affairs has also ordered the shutdown of preschools in the country until further notice. In the meantime, the Chinese ambassador in Sri Lanka had an audience with Minister of Health Pavitra Vanyarachi at the Chinese embassy last evening. The acting ambassador has expressed readiness to assist combat any possible outbreak in the country. Accordingly, under its first phase, China provided Sri Lanka with 50,000 clinical masks and 1,000 clinical suits. With COVID-19 now declared a pandemic, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi today proposed that the SAARC nations work together to fight the sweeping COVID-19 threat, suggesting to discuss it via video conferencing. Praising his initiative, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa said that he is ready to join the discussion and share the learnings as well as best practices while learning from other SAARC members. On another note, the President has also instructed that visas to European nationals to be suspended for 2 weeks and Sri Lankans returning from Europe to be subjected to a 14-day quarantine. The President also mentioned that the World Health Organization has agreed to assist in the implementation of measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in Sri Lanka. The head of state has given instructions to regulate the distribution of facial masks and to make arrangements to facilitate the purchase for a controlled price. Meanwhile, it has also been decided to seek the assistance of the security forces for the decontamination of buses and trains which will be used for public transportation starting from tomorrow. In Batticaloa, meanwhile, a group of residents staged a protest in front of the hospital, claiming that a person infected with the coronavirus was admitted for treatment. They were arrested by the police accompanied by members of the Special Task Force for their aggressive behavior. It is reported that the patient has no symptoms of COVID-19 and is currently undergoing treatment at the hospital. Meanwhile, growing fear of a possible outbreak of coronavirus is also having a profound effect on the country's sports sector as well. Although the English cricket team is already in Sri Lanka, the planned test series was called off amid COVID-19 concerns. COVID-19 is also affecting the country's school cricket just after the big match season coming into effect. Matches including the Hill Country battle between St Anthony's College and Trinity College Kandy, the Battle of the Goals between St Sebastian's College and Prince of Wales College Moratuwa, as well as the Battle of Maroons between Anand and Nalanda colleges are postponed indefinitely. According to organisers, the inter-school rugby tournament too has been postponed.
Now, in the meantime, growing fears of a possible coronavirus outbreak in Sri Lanka have resulted in a panic buying situation across the country, leading to an artificial shortage of food items in a number of stores. Authorities of relevant sectors reassured adequate stocks of food items as well as fuel and medical drugs in the country, while urging people not to succumb to unnecessary panic.
As fears grow over the spread of coronavirus, panic buying was reported from across the country. Anxious shoppers formed long lines at grocery stores and cleared the shelves of essential items. Our cameras captured panic buying at the economic centres in Narahempita and Meegoda. The situation was no different at Lanka Satusa stores, but its chairman assures that they have adequate stocks for at least 45 days.
There is absolutely no shortage of food items in Sri Lanka. We have about 45 days worth of food items stocked in all our warehouses. We have no reason to believe that there will be a shortage because this is a man-made shortage. If a person is buying 1 kilo of sugar suddenly comes and buys 5 kilos of sugar, you are obviously depriving the next person who wants to buy 500 grams of sugar. So this is an artificial shortage created by panic buying. There is absolutely no reason to panic buy because we as an organization, we have enough stock of rice, dal, cowpea, sugar, canned fish, all these items that people want, we have enough stock of these. So therefore there is no reason for you to fear that there will be a shortage of food items. On another note, right now, due to this massive demand that we saw yesterday and that we still see today, we have deployed 88 lorries all over the country to go and refill the shelves. And by tomorrow, you will find that all the shelves are back with all the regular items that you want to purchase. This is not a situation where panic buying will in any way solve any of the problems.
Upon instructions of the President and the Prime Minister, Minister of Information Dr. Bandula Gunawardena meanwhile looked into the situation at the wholesale market in Peta, which is a distribution hub for goods. Our correspondents on the ground also looked into the stocks of essential food items in several areas. In the meantime, with the harvesting of Maha season underway, large-scale businessmen assure that no shortage in rice will arise. Fears of a COVID-19 spread has also given rise to an inordinate demand for the Ayurvedic medicine Perumkayam. With Perumkayam said to boost the immune system, people formed long queues in the area of Kurunagala to buy the Ayurvedic medicine. Panic buying, however, is not limited to food items. People were seen filling up fuel tanks across the country, expecting the worst. The message from the Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited is not to panic, as there is more than adequate stocks of fuel available.
There is an unnecessary panic between fuel consumers and the shed owners regarding fuel capacity of our country. For the moment, we have enough and more quantities to supply for more than 20 days. Apart from that, we have ordered until April end our stocks, and these are getting discharged at the moment. 40 tons of diesel getting discharged and petrol also getting discharged, and our team also ready to work 24/7 in case of any emergency situation arise to service the sheds to get the right amount of petrol to our consumers. So I am humbly requesting from the people, with responsibility, we have enough and more stock to provide any corner in our country within 24 hours.
In the meantime, any fears of a possible shortage of essential drugs in Sri Lanka was also put to bed today. Chairperson of the Sri Lanka Chamber of the Pharmaceutical Industry, Kasturi Chellaraja, insisted to First at 9 that all major pharmaceutical importers have inventory and stocks for at least 3 months.
The situation as it is now, for Sri Lankan's perspective, there is no reason for panic buying. All importers have 2 to 3 months of inventory available as of now, and the pharmacies have adequate stock. And for future supplies, we continue to engage, and we've started having supplies reaching us. So we are going to have excess stock anyways, because we are making sure that there's adequate medicine, and for the next 3 months you anyways have the stock available. There's a reason not to panic buy, because one is they're going to spend more money. Secondly, when you overbuy, you are going to store it at home, and the conditions you're storing during this heat will impact the quality of medicine. What we are urging is the industry is mindful that this is essential medicines, and we have taken care that we make sure the supply chain is there.
Commander of the Army, Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva too urged people to not fall prey to misinformation and succumb to panic. In a short message, he called on the people to cooperate with the government in order to carry out daily activities.
මේ අවස්ථාවේදී අපිට වාර්තා වනු ලබනවා මහජනතාව විශාල වශයෙන් සුපර් මාකට් නැත්නම් කඩවලට ගිහිල්ලා මේ අවස්ථාවේදී බඩු ගන්න උත්සාහ කරනවා කියලා. ඉතින් මේ සුපර් මාකට් වල සහ කඩවල සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අවශ්‍ය දිනකට දෙකකට අවශ්‍ය වුන් දන්නවා මහජනතාව ගන්න ක්‍රමවේදය. ඒ අනුව තමයි බඩු රැස් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒක පාට මේ ආකාරයෙන් විශාල වශයෙන් විශාල පුද්ගලයන් එක දිනකදී ගන්න ගියාම ඒ සුපර් මාකට් වල කඩවල බඩු ඉවර වෙනවා. එතකොට හිතනවා මේ බඩු හිඟයක් වෙනවා කියලා. ඉතින් මේ අනවශ්‍ය මේ තතිගැනීමක් ලක් කළ බව අතිගරු ජනාධිපති එවැගේම අපේ සන්නද්ධ සේනාධි නායකයා මට මේ අවස්ථාවේ දැනුම් දෙන්න කියලා කිව්වා. ඉතින් එහෙම බඩු හිඟයක් එන්න හේතුවකුත් නැහැ. කවුරු හරි කියලා තියෙනවා මම හිතන්නේ ගෙවල් වල නිරෝධාන කටයුත්තකට යොදවනවා කියලා. ඒ වගේ දෙයක් හින්දා වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් එහෙම කිසිම බලාපොරොත්තුවක් රජයේ මේ අවස්ථාවේ එහෙම දෙයක් නැහැ. ඉතින් ඒකින්ද කිසිදු පුද්ගලෙක් මේ ආකාරයෙන් අනවශ්‍ය බියක් ඇති කරගෙන ගිහිල්ලා විශාල වශයෙන් බඩු ගන්න උත්සාහ කරන්න එපා කියලා අපි කාරුණිකව ඉල්ලනවා. ඉතින් එහෙම යම්කිසි හදිසි සත්‍යයක් තියෙනවා නම් කලින්ම පෙර දැනුම් දීමක් කරන්න රජය විසින් කටයුතු කරන බවත් අතිගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමා දැනුම් දුන්නා. ඉතින් ඒකින්ද අපි කාරුණික ඉල්ලනවා මෙසේ විශාල වශයෙන් ගිහිල්ලා බඩු ගැනීමෙන් වැළකී සිටින්න.
Even though it is nature of humans to panic with the onset of an outbreak such as the COVID-19 pandemic, it would be better served to suppress that instinct, as it could worsen the situation by giving rise to various other complications. People with financial power can purchase goods in bulk and hoard in expectation of a possible shortage. That faction, however, is very small compared to the masses who do not have the wealth to buy in bulk. With that in mind, it would be best not to contribute to a situation where many are left with limited or no avenues to fulfill their daily consumption needs.
Now, although Sri Lanka has been largely spared from the worst effects of the COVID-19 outbreak, the virus is gathering momentum in certain parts of the world, especially in Europe. The virus has now affected 132 countries.
The coronavirus COVID-19 has now affected 132 countries out of the 195 countries in the world, recording a global death toll of 5,083 along with 138,611 positive cases of infection. The death toll in Italy, the epicenter of COVID-19 in Europe, passed 1,000, recording 1,016 fatalities. The cases of positive infections there meanwhile increased to 15,113. In Iran, 514 deaths are recorded, making the Islamist Republic the second on the list of fatalities other than China. In the meantime, Spain recorded a doubling of its death toll owing to COVID-19, and experts say the European nation is showing telltale signs of rapidly catching up with Italy. The country's current COVID-19 infections stand at 4,073 along with 92 deaths. Spain initially did little in response to the outbreak, however changed tack this week after infections soared, leading to 4 towns being placed under quarantine and announced measures to tackle the economic impact of the coronavirus pandemic, which the country's hotelier described as a tsunami threatening the survival of their business. In Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's wife, Sophie Trudeau, tested positive for the deadly virus. She is currently in isolation and the Prime Minister is in self-isolation for 14 days. In the meantime, India also confirmed their first COVID-19 death. Amidst development of COVID-19 worldwide, South Korea reported more recoveries from the coronavirus than new infections today, making the first time the daily number of recovered people exceeded that of new infections since its first patient was confirmed on the 20th of January. With the severe outbreak of the virus in the world, one of Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijiang tweeted, quote, "When did patient zero begin in US? How many people are infected? What are the names of the hospitals? It might be US Army who brought the epidemic to Wuhan. Be transparent. Make public your data. US owe us an explanation." Unquote. The fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic is heavily affecting sports as well, with a slew of major events being cancelled or postponed. European football's governing body UEFA announced the Champions League and Europa League will be suspended owing to the coronavirus outbreak. Further, Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta has also tested positive for the virus, with the first team squad set to self-isolate as a result. The Formula One season, meanwhile, is also thrown into doubt with the cancellation of the Australian Grand Prix due to the coronavirus. The decision came after a member of the McLaren team tested positive for the coronavirus, and the British-based outfit withdrew from the race, which attracts some 300,000 fans every year. In tennis, both the ATP and WTA tours are suspended until at least the end of April over the COVID-19 pandemic.
We'll see you again shortly after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, the chairman of the Airport and Aviation Services Limited is confident that the government will be able to complete the second passenger terminal at the Bandaranaike International Airport in just 3 years. He made these comments as he addressed a media briefing organised to announce the relevant contract signing in Colombo.
The signing of the contract to build the second passenger terminal at the Bandaranaike International Airport in Katunayaka was worked off yesterday at the Ministry of Investment Promotion.
We experienced huge congestion at BIA. However, we will get a brand new state-of-the-art passenger terminal which could add 9 million more passengers handling capacity to increase BIA's total capacity to 15 million per annum. This project, along with other remodeling and restructuring initiatives at the present terminal at BIA, will comfortably provide the infrastructure to cater for 20 million passengers in 2025, which is Government of Sri Lanka's target.
I strongly hope that this project will greatly contribute to promoting business travel as well as tourism, which is one of the major industries of Sri Lanka.
The total cost is 62 billion yen. They laid the foundation stone in September 2014 by the 5th President of Sri Lanka, Mahinda Rajapaksa. Since then, because of the various changes that has taken place for this particular project, and there are a lot of delays. We have to pay fairly big amount of damages because of that loan that we have taken. You know the contract, it is the agreement, loan agreement, JICA. So we have to make all the payments annually. We will make sure that we give this assurance to the people and somehow we are going to get this done in 3 years.
Mr. Chandrasekhar, you said that cost, it is including the highway, the Katunayaka connection and the railway also.
Yes, everything is included in that. You will see how the whole area is now cleared for them to start and the highway coming and connecting to the departure terminal.
Chairman of the Airport and Aviation Services, Major General G.A. Chandrasekhar, also touched on the plans they're working on with regards to other international airports in the country.
We are working on a major plan now for Ratmalana Airport, then Mattala Airport, and also for Jaffna Airport and Batticaloa. These are all international airports now. So, Ratmalana Airport, we are trying our level best to get the other international airlines to come there. But there are certain limitation restrictions. If everything goes well, the first week of April, we will have Maldives Airlines flying into Sri Lanka to Ratmalana. We are working on a plan where we get the aviation schools to come to Sri Lanka. One school, they are already agreed. They will start their school at Ratmalana first. Then at the second stage, they will move to Mattala. Then we are also reduced the levies for all this and concession we are giving for all the airlines to fly into Mattala and also to Ratmalana. Sometime most likely to Jaffna if we get the approval. Batticaloa, although it is an international airport, as it is we are doing all the development only to get the local airlines. Local tourism we are working on it. But when it comes to Jaffna, it is different. Now, there's an international airport and Fitch Aviation earlier doing only 3 flights per week. Now they have increased up to 7, all 7 days they are flying to Jaffna. That entire area is the strict jungle. They created an international airport from nowhere. And that was 2 months of work. But that is not good enough to make it, to say that it's an international airport. So the minister, after he took over, he is working on a plan with us to make sure that we have all the other additional facilities coming into that airport.
Now, in other local news, the Court of Appeal has decided to further consider the writ application filed by former MP Ravi Karunanayake, owner of Perpetual Treasuries Limited, Arjun Aloysius, and 2 others on the 17th of March. The writ applications filed on behalf of Karunanayake, PTL owner Arjun Aloysius, and 2 other central bank employees seeking a court order to revoke the arrest warrants issued against them was taken up for consideration today. The court ordered former MP Karunanayake, Arjun Aloysius and 2 others to appear before court before 4 p.m. today with regard to the writ application. The court meanwhile also ordered the Fort Magistrates Court not to issue any orders against the 4 petitioners who are named as suspects in the controversial central bank bond scam. Now, the Sri Lanka Freedom Party has decided to oust former parliamentarian Vijit Vijayamonizoisa. Speaking to media, General Secretary of the party, Dayasiri Jayasekara, stated that the decision was taken by the Central Committee of SLFP, which convened yesterday. The meeting of SLFP's Central Committee was held at the party headquarters under the patronage of its leader, former President Maithripala Sirisena. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, Director of the Colombo Stock Exchange, Dumit Fernando, says the closure of the CSE for a series of days is out of the question as the CSE halted trade for a third consecutive day today. Speaking to First at 9, Fernando added that the halt in trading was aimed at preventing investors from panic selling, giving time to better understand the prevalent market conditions.
The reason we halt the exchange is when we have a sudden drop in share prices due to fundamentally panic selling. When you have panic selling, there is really no rhyme or reason as to why stock market falls. And the objective of a halting of trading is really to give investors a time to calm down, take a deep breath, and come back to markets, understanding what the actual drivers are of the stock market fall. I think if you look at the 3 days this week where the markets were halted. Each day the market was halted when the trigger or the circuit breaker in the exchange was triggered at a 5% drop. The benefit of this market trigger was in fact seen because the end of the day, after markets were reopened following the market halt, and at the end of the day closing, prices did not actually fall any further. In fact, in all instances, prices rose up just slightly. So this tells you how it helps the markets when there is panic selling, and when you do have a circuit breaker, you can actually halt the sell-off, which sometimes can be irrational.
So what about the prospect of the Colombo Stock Exchange closing for a series of days?
I think this is really out of the question. By running a stock exchange, we're making a promise to investors that we will continue with a fully functioning market, which allows them to buy and sell. We have a set of rules. We have a time frame within the day when we have investors expecting us to remain open. And so this full functioning of a stock exchange is, in fact, an obligation we have to an investor community. So the only instances where we have seen stock exchanges shut down entirely for a day is when there has been a great amount of uncertainty or irrationality and a lack of information. So an example was after Twin Towers attacks in New York Stock Exchange closed for a couple of days until people were able to understand exactly what was going on. Whereas in the last 3 days in our local markets, clearly, the selling was driven by global risks, panic around the impact of COVID-19 related risks and the coronavirus impact not being fully understood. So there was a great fear factor, but that fear factor was well known around the world. We know what the risk is. We just don't know how to measure how bad it is.
Director of the CSE, Dumit Fernando, was meanwhile upbeat about the market performance as Sri Lankan markets were operating in line with those in the Asian region and others.
The market this week lost about 11.5% of its value. Now again, this is a great drop in 1 week. Just to put it in context, in other markets around this region, in Malaysia, markets fell about 11 or 12%. In Indonesia, markets fell about 13%. In the Philippines, 15%. In Thailand, about 18%. And even the largest market in the US, the S&P 500 index fell 17%. So we have performed in line with what global markets have done. The good news is that today we are seeing global markets in Europe starting to go up as they have got more comfortable with the impact of the coronavirus due to the central banks infusing liquidity into the system. So we hope that this will halt at some point, but I have to say that the Colombo Stock Exchange performance has been better than or in line with what many of the markets around the world and the region have done.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.